Have you ever used a product that just gets you? That maybe it's a car dashboard that's intuitive, or a toy that's easy for kids to clean up, or a website that just guides you effortlessly, or an app that you open and you know exactly where to go. But now think of the opposite. Think of some frustrating packaging, or complicated remote controls, or doors that you're not sure how to push or pull, or microwaves with way too many buttons, or showers in hotel rooms, or when you used to stay over at your friend's house. Like, how does this thing even work? You end up taking a bath, kind of. The difference: good and bad design. More specifically, what I'm going to talk about on this podcast is empathic design. Welcome to the Hidden Side of Design, the podcast that explores overlooked design flaws and how to fix them. I'm Sean. I'm a designer with a passion for making products and experiences more intuitive, more thoughtful, and ultimately better for everyone. So in this first episode, I'm diving into what empathic design really means. I'm going to define it for this podcast and give you my mission with empathic design and what I'm trying to do in changing the world around this, and why it's more important than ever now, and what you can expect from the podcast, because we won't be defining this every single time. Let's get into it. So what is empathic design? Designing with the user's needs, emotions, and experiences in mind. Okay, if you've ever worked in design, you've probably heard of something or used something called a persona. You've created something called a persona. It's kind of like a checklist that you plugged stuff into to create this fictional but actual person. And what I mean by fictional actual person is, instead of saying I'm designing an app for people to go to a museum, okay, there's lots of different people that can go to a museum, right? We have people that might be retired, we have students, we have mothers looking for something to do with their kids, or people that just maybe want to go to a museum. They haven't been in a while and they want to go to a museum. So you have different age brackets, you have different backgrounds, everything. When you create a persona, you're creating a very specific person. And the reason that we do this, especially in UX UI design, when I was an architect, we would talk about who's using this space, how are they going to use it. We didn't do the checklists like they do nowadays, but well, it makes me sound old. Back in my day. But we would talk about who the person is and how they're going to use the space. Okay. With UX UI design, and you'll also see a lot of business people on YouTube, that if you're starting your channel, if you're starting a business, like, you need to find this ideal client. Like Marie Forleo talks about this ideal client, like, who are they? So a persona is, you give them a name, maybe you find some stock footage so you can actually put a face to the name. What do they do? Are they married? Are they single? How much do they make? Where do they live? What kind of house or apartment or do they live in? What kind of car do they drive? Do they have pets? If they do, what kind of pets? Like, you get really down into the nitty gritty so that you really understand who you're selling to, and then you are talking directly to that person when you do your marketing, or when you are designing a product, when you are doing anything within your business or creating a channel. It's this very specific person, not this general nebulous of like, these are the people that buy it. Okay, that's all well and good. And there's also something else in UX and UI design especially, and I'm talking a lot about that because these come up with the certifications and stuff that I have in that, and what I've done with that is why this comes up so much. But there's another thing called a user's journey, or a user's map. And what you do there is you take a person who's going to use your product, and in this case, most of the time it was like an app or a website, and you put them into that situation. What are they going to be doing? Like, you go step by step by step. What's their journey? What do they see? What are they doing in that thing? Okay, these two things together should create a great way for you to meet the user's needs, and you go on from there and you start to design. The problem with it, and where that falls short, and where I see it falling short, not only in digital products but in physical products, is that the user's needs aren't fully met. Now, whether the product started out being designed with all this stuff in mind, and then it got lost somewhere along the way, or if it was never there at all, and I don't know how they would design in that instance, but you're missing the emotions and missing the experience, and that's where the empathy comes in. That's the key idea behind what I'm talking about when I talk about empathic design. What is this person feeling when they are using the product? What emotions are they feeling? What experiences are they feeling? What are they doing? What's their environment like? Are they using this in the car while they're driving? I mean, Google Maps, you're bringing it up, you're looking at it. Okay, that interface needs to have larger, high contrast, larger font, easy to see if you're just glancing at it, so you can keep looking at the road, looking for addresses, looking at the map, a clear idea of where you are. You're going to the airport, you're very high in anxiety. At least I am. Like, I have a very, very high level of anxiety because there's a lot of things that need to happen, and I don't go to the airport every day, every week. I've been a lot, but not enough to where I'm not positive that I know my way around the airport. Especially if you're in a new city, you fly somewhere and then you're flying back out of that airport you've never been in before, besides to get off the plane. Now you have even more anxiety because you have to find the signage. Where do I check my bags? Where do I drop it? Where's security? Where's my gate from there? Do I have to take a tram? Do I have to have a long walk? What am I going to do? I also need to get something to eat. You don't want to bring up your boarding pass on your phone and have to scroll and go through menus. You want to hit one, maybe two buttons at the absolute most and bring it up. Okay? That's thinking about the emotions, the experiences. That's empathic design. We're talking about kitchen tools and microphones and anything that is designed can be empathic. Okay, this goes beyond just design. I'm going to be talking about empathy in design because that's what I know. I know design. I absolutely love design. I could talk about design forever. I absolutely love it. I don't care what we're talking about. But also just the world itself needs more empathy, and this is kind of my way into it. This is getting into more of my mission, which is making design more empathic, but really I want to make the world have more empathy. We could get into where the world is now. This is February 2025. I'm in the US. There's a lot of stuff happening right now that shows people do not have empathy. They are not tapped into empathy. I'm not going to turn this into this big political rant or any of that kind of stuff, but I am saying that in history we've seen the worst things that happen in humanity and that continue to happen in humanity is because people don't have empathy. Greed, power, those are the exact opposites of empathy. I'm coming at this from a design point of view. So I've worked in design, education, problem solving for over 2 decades, almost 3 decades. I've worked in that huge realm, taught kindergarten through college, designed in architecture, websites, fine arts, gallery art. I've done a lot of stuff around design. I absolutely love it. That's what I know. So I'm going to bring the empathy into it because I see it missing a lot in products, and our lives could be so much easier if products just had empathy in them. More important than ever is that technology is everywhere. As products become more complex, bad designs create more friction in daily life. Just because we have the technology doesn't mean we should be putting it into every single thing that we design. Not everything needs an app. I don't want to control my faucet with my voice. Okay, that might be a cool feature. Oh wow. You're going to use it once or twice, 4 times, and then you're not going to use it again. You're going to forget about the function. Then when you want to use it, you forget how to use it. And the voice stuff on my phone only works maybe 30% of the time the way I want it to work. Do I really want a faucet doing that? No, that's not empathic. Hey, I like the idea, it's not working. We also have a much larger aging population because our lives have a longer lifespan because of healthcare and different things. And so with aging populations, we need more accessibility. So many products are still ignoring the elderly user. With you're losing dexterity in your hands. You can't grab things. Your ability to get around is decreased as you age. mean, there's all sorts of things that go into aging that products just completely ignore. And it's also for those with disabilities. We have more and more people, which is wonderful, that are out and about with disabilities. We don't know what those disabilities are, so we need to design for every type of disability that we can think of. And we bring in more voices as we're designing this. That's empathy. Okay, that's thinking about, okay, these are the main users, but now who are the users that are on the fringe that might only use it a couple times? Well, why not design for them? If you design for disability, if you're doing a product, if you're making a product and you need to design for a disability, let's say you have this color scheme that you absolutely love, but you find out that the contrast isn't great, you alter that contrast, your product becomes way better. I've never come across a design that was designed to accommodate certain disabilities that made it worse. None. It will usually, I do hesitate to use the word always, but I haven't come across one yet, but it will improve the product for absolutely everybody. You put a little ramp in a sidewalk instead of having to jump off the curb because you need it to be accessible for people with low mobility and or using a wheelchair. That little dip is great. It accommodates kids. It accommodates people riding bicycles or scooters. As a runner, I love to go down the little ramps instead of jumping off the curb sometimes, especially as I age and my hips are like, what are we doing? Also, sustainability and overconsumption. As we get into this podcast, overconsumption and sustainability are two of the biggest things that I'm also passionate about. I love to tinker. I love to fix things. I love to get things that people say are completely broken. You can have it for free, and then I fix it. We have things around the house that are retail for thousands of dollars that we were just given because people said it was broken, and I fixed it with $12, $15 part and a little bit of digging in there and seeing, okay, so how to fix it. So poorly designed products break easy, lead to waste, they lead to frustration because they break earlier than you expected, especially for what you paid for them, and the designed obsolescence. I mean, creating stuff that is supposed to break at a certain time. That's so frustrating, infuriating to me. So I want to fix that. That's another thing this podcast is going to be about. I'm going to teach you how to look at stuff and how to fix things and how to make things better. This podcast isn't just about and for designers. This is going to be for everybody, for parents, for just anybody interested in design, anybody with stuff around the house that they want to fix. Hey, we're going to be talking about designs. What is a good design? What is bad design? How to recognize it so you can be a more informed consumer. There's so much in this podcast. But the key takeaway with this section I'm talking about is that now more than ever, good design isn't just nice to have, it's necessary. And I want to give that power back to you. Not only you as a designer, if you're a designer, but you as a consumer, because we can change the way things are designed with our wallet. If nobody's buying a bad product, then that company should discontinue the product or redesign the product and try to make it better. That's how we can do it. But if we just keep buying bad products, then they're going to keep making the bad products. But sometimes we don't know it's a bad product until we have it. So I also want to talk on this podcast about how we can recognize and kind of put ourselves into using that product to see if it's going to work. It takes a little bit of work, but I can help you with it. So, like I said, I've worked in design for almost 3 decades, almost 30 years. I've been working in design all across different genres and just absolutely love it. I know firsthand how bad design impacts people, from kids struggling with toys or with a lot of educational products are just bad, and kids struggling with that. The teachers have to alter. Professionals fighting with inefficient work tools. I mean, I've fought with them. I've altered a lot of stuff. Most everything I have that I use, I've customized in some way to make it more efficient. And not just for me, but I think it's more efficient for everybody. And what I want to do is to drive this idea of empathic design, that we need more of it. Now, it's not just in products. We're going to be talking mostly about products, but this can also be with, in HR, in corporate, in dealing with teams. Like, having more empathy is not going to be bad. Okay? It's not. It's kind of like designing a product for disabilities. You're not going to make it worse. If you have more empathy for people, there is no way you're going to make it worse. It just gets better. It's going to get better. And I also want you to dispel the idea that empathy is a weakness and that you're giving in. No, it's not. You can be empathetic and you can be not a pushover, not just give people what they want. That's not what empathy is. And I want to stress that right now, because a lot of people are scared of empathy. There's many people that think that if you're empathetic, that you're cowering in the corner, you're weak. You're like, oh, thank you so much. Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Whatever you need. It's not being a people pleaser. That's not what empathy is. Empathy is putting yourself into that person's shoes, and how are they experiencing the world, this product, this design, this situation, the way you're acting around them, you're talking to them. Okay. It's taken me years to get to a point where I feel like every day I'm getting more empathetic. I've had to learn it. I was not taught it. I've learned it by making a lot of mistakes. I've learned it by being the exact opposite of empathy, being extremely rigid, and this is how it needs to be done. I do not care. I'm the person in the authority position, and you need to do it the way I said to do it. Okay, I've learned it by being put in situations by people that had zero empathy. I was told to grab my stuff. I had 15 minutes to get what I could and get out of where I was living. And I had nowhere to go. Hey, that'll make you kind of rethink things. And how did I get into this situation? And what can I do to change that? And what did I do to cause this situation to be where it is? Okay? So I've learned it, and I'm continuing to learn it. Each day I just try to get better. So it's not weakness. Get that out of your mind. Empathy is not weakness. Empathy is a strength. It is a hidden power that many people don't tap into. And you can learn it. There for a while people thought you were born with the empathy that you have the rest of your life. You are not. You can learn to be more empathetic. Okay? So I've seen firsthand how this can change, how it's not used, and what it does. What I want to do is I want to educate. I want to teach designers. I want to teach parents. I want to teach people how to take what they have and what they're using and create with empathy. Playing with your kids. How can that be more empathetic? Hey, there are times your kids are throwing a fit and it's a struggle. I have a toddler. I understand that sometimes she throws a fit and I'm trying to be more empathetic, but sometimes it's just really tough. So we're human. But if you're thinking about being empathetic, you're like, how could I be more empathetic in this situation as I'm feeling this anxiety and all these emotions around this toddler throwing a fit? Even just thinking that will usually cause you to not react instantly to it. You're going to take a little breath, take a beat. You might not be talking to them, you might not be picking them up, hugging them, trying to remedy the situation as far as what they think they need, but you're not making it worse by yelling or screaming or dragging them to the car or doing who knows what, right? You're not going to make it worse. Then you can reassess later, like, how can I be more, what can I do in this situation? And, what I found with my daughter, like yesterday, she was throwing a fit. And we let her throw her fit for a while. I had to just kind of let her throw her fit for me because I was like, I'm not exactly sure how to do this. I've explained to her what we need to do, and she's not doing it, so she can just lay there and throw her fit. And that's great. She laid there and threw her fit. And she still wasn't calming down after a while. I talked to her a little bit more, see where she is, if she's ready to kind of allow me to help her calm down and learn how to regulate herself. She finally was. So then I hug her. She's screaming, she's crying. I pick her up, I hug her. Almost immediately, it goes away. She's sobbing into my shoulder, and we're working through the situation together. Hey, that's empathic. Now, in the past with some of my other kids, I would have done the exact opposite. I would have tried to force them to stop throwing a fit. Doesn't work. Hey, everybody gets angry, and in those situations, that's when I look back and being like, beat myself up as a parent, like it was horrible. That's how I learned how to be more empathetic, is to not be empathetic. And I'm hoping that you, listening to this or watching this on YouTube, that you will be able to learn from the mistakes that I bring up here. Okay. But I'm coming at this through the lens of design, because that's what I know, and that's what I have been in, and I absolutely love to talk about that. But we're going to talk a lot about parenting too, because parenting, you can design the way you interact with your kids that will help as well your empathy. So we'll talk a lot about that too. I want to empower consumers, like I mentioned. We have the power as consumers to buy what will work and what will work for a long time, and that will hopefully show companies how they need to change. Hey, that's empowering the consumer, and you can do that before you ever even open the package, even looking at stuff online. My wife will be like, hey, what do you think about this? She'll send me stuff, and I'll point out things that I don't think are going to work with it, but then we have to say, is that a deal breaker? Do we not buy this because that's going to cause a frustration? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I'm like, well, this won't work and this won't work, and it's like, well, it's okay, we're not going to use it for that. So it'll be perfectly fine. But other times it won't be. I'm going to teach you how you can do that by just looking at a product and putting yourself into your future self using this product. That's empathy as well. It's not just about being in other people's shoes. It's about you being in your future self shoes. Okay? And advocate for change. I want to push for better design standards across all industries. Let's get better as designers, as companies. And I'm not somebody who needs a bunch of money, and I don't understand corporations and businesses that just want to keep making money and make horrible products, or make their products go downhill and they start to lose money. I don't understand that, and I will never understand that. And I get that there might be people listening that are like, well, we can't design this way. Or as I bring up products and I talk about stuff and I analyze products in future episodes, people might have reasons, and I'm going to put reasons in quotations, because if the reason is money, that's not a reason for me. No. You find a different way to do it. That's a constraint, and constraints are very, very helpful. But if your reason for not designing a product well is money, you're not a good enough designer. You need better designers. Just like if somebody is using a product repetitively the wrong way and it is not an effective product, it is not the user's fault. And I will say it again, and I will scream it from the rooftops. If a product is not an effective product and people are using it incorrectly and it makes their life harder, it is the designer's fault. And I say that as a designer, having designed many, many things, from buildings to electronics to all sorts of things. It is not the user's fault. It is never the user's fault. Okay? Now, there are times when somebody's using it incorrectly because they don't understand how to use it, but that also gets into, if it's overcomplicated, it needs to be simplified. And we'll get into that too. So I want a big advocate for change in the design standards themselves, across design itself, and changing the way products are made. Like that, those are my huge missions. We should all have these huge missions that may or may not ever come to fruition. There you go. So what this podcast will cover, it won't be this rambling all the time, right? But thank you for sticking with me, because learning about what empathy is and how empathy differs from personas and user journeys and those kind of things that are just kind of checklists for, I feel like those are checklists that people use to be like, yeah, we did that, and then they just design what they want. They don't look back at it. That's how you end up with bad designs. But this one will be deep dives into bad design. I'm going to explore frustrating products, why they fail, how they could be better. We're going to redesign them. This is a podcast, and so mostly it's obviously audio, but but I am also doing a simulcast, if you want to call it that, on YouTube. So if you need visuals, if you want to see the visuals that I'm going to talk about on the podcast, you can log in to Redesign Revolution, excuse me. You can log into Redesign Revolution and be able to see me just talking to a camera. And sometimes I'll show the product up on there. But for the most part, I will try to do my absolute best to explain, knowing that this is audio based, what I'm looking at and what it looks like and how it can be better. Okay, so you're going to deep dive into that. We're also going to look at empathic design success stories. Obviously, there are some out there that are doing an excellent job. Can they be better? Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. But we'll look at that kind of stuff. The consumer empowerment, teaching you how to recognize and choose well-designed products. And eventually, as this podcast takes off, I'll hopefully get interviews, maybe some other insights of other designers and consumers. I mean, it's not just designers. I want to talk to consumers, like, how are you using this product? What do you not like about this product? Okay. And yeah, the visuals, log into YouTube if you're not already watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to it in your car or YouTube music on your phone or whatever, if you need those visuals, there will be visuals that are available on YouTube. So bad design is absolutely everywhere. It continues to be everywhere. There's many times when I've thought, I don't need this anymore. I mean, there isn't that much bad design. People are getting better. Why would I want to make this podcast about bad design when there's so much design out there and obviously it's fine? Well, not true. Bad design is absolutely everywhere, and once you start noticing it, and here's your warning, and this could be the last podcast you listen to from me, here's your warning. Once you start noticing it, you cannot unsee it. That's my promise, and that's my warning. And even my wife, who claims that she has no design whatsoever, she can't design anything, this is self-proclaimed, I'm horrible at spatial everything, is what she says. She is starting to point out and get frustrated with bad design. She's even like, you're rubbing off on me. She hears it all the time from me. As soon as I open a package, I'll say, well, that's idiotic, or that's not going to work, or I got to change that. And before it's even out of the package, I will see stuff that needs to change sometimes. She's starting to do that. So you can learn how to do this and be a better consumer and make your life better through products. So that is my warning. You will, as you listen to this podcast, you will start to see bad design absolutely everywhere. And it makes me so proud. And I hope that you join us in pointing out bad design. That will be awesome. The good news is we can fix it. So in upcoming episodes, I'll be breaking down everyday design failures you'll probably run into, showing you how they can be designed better, how we can change them right now. We'll look at everything from kitchen gadgets to kids' toys, lots of kids' toys. Oh my goodness. Tech interfaces, city planning, buildings themselves. I mean, because the world doesn't have to be this frustrating, it just needs to be better designed. So if you're struggled with bad design or you want to make better products for yourself, learn to fix the ones you have, make them work even better, subscribe to Hidden Side of Design, this podcast. Go to Redesign Revolution on YouTube, and through there there'll be links. You can sign up to my newsletter if you want to receive a weekly newsletter I have for that. Let's fix the world with empathy and empathic design. Subscribe to it. Also, if you have a design fail or something that you've just continually used wrong and you're not sure why, and you want me to cover it, mention it in the comments. I would love to hear from it. So, thanks for joining me on this first rambling episode of The Hidden Side of Design. I'm Sean, and thanks for listening.